There is something happening on April 8th, 2026, and whether you are aware of it or not, it is already moving through you. Right now, at this very moment, two planets, Mars and Uranus, are both positioned at the 29th degree of their signs simultaneously. In esoteric astrology, this degree is called the anaretic degree. It is the degree of final reckoning, of karmic urgency, of the soul being called to complete what it came here to finish. This is not a coincidence that you are watching this. You were meant to find it today. There is a feeling that has been living inside your body for the past several days. You may have described it to yourself as restlessness, or perhaps you have not been able to describe it at all. It arrives without warning. It moves through your chest like a current, like something electrical humming just beneath the surface of your skin. You find yourself unable to sit still in your own life, not because anything has gone wrong, but because something deep inside you knows that staying still is no longer an option. You pace. You stare out of windows. You pick up your phone and put it down without knowing why. You start sentences in your mind that never find their ending. This is not anxiety. This is not restlessness in the ordinary sense of that word. What you are feeling is the language of the cosmos speaking through your nervous system, and it has been speaking louder with every passing day as April 8th approached. The reason this feeling is so difficult to name is because it does not belong to any one area of your life. It is not about your relationship, or your work, or your home. It is bigger than any single circumstance. It is a whole body knowing that something is completing, that something is ending, that the version of you who woke up last week is not the same version who will fall asleep this week. And that truth, that enormous wordless truth, creates a vibration in the body that the mind has no category for. So the mind calls it restlessness, but the soul calls it readiness. What is happening on April 8th is that Mars, the planet of drive, of will, of the primal force that moves you toward your destiny, is sitting at the very last degree of Pisces, the 29th degree. In esoteric teaching, this is the degree where the soul has no more time to delay, no more room to avoid, no more ability to pretend it does not know what it knows. Mars at this degree is not asking you to act. It is compelling you. It is the difference between choosing to walk through a door and feeling the door open beneath your hand before you have even reached for it. The action is inevitable. The movement is already happening. What you are feeling in your body is the preparation for that movement, the electrical charge that builds before lightning strikes. And then there is Uranus. Uranus, the great awakener, the planet of sudden liberation and radical truth, is sitting at its own 29th degree, the final degree of Taurus. Uranus has been in Taurus for 7 years, slowly and sometimes violently dismantling every structure in your life that was built on something false. False security, false stability, false versions of who you were told you needed to be. And now it stands at the very edge of that sign, at the very threshold of completion, sending out one final pulse of awakening energy before it moves on. That pulse is what you have been feeling. That electric, unnameable current moving through you is not random. It is not a symptom of something wrong. It is a transmission. It is the universe sending a signal through your body because your body is sensitive enough to receive it. Not everyone feels this. Most people will move through April 8th without any awareness that the sky is speaking. They will feel vaguely unsettled and blame their coffee or their sleep or the weather. But you are here. You found this. And that is not an accident. That is a confirmation. The restlessness you have been carrying is not a burden. It is a beacon. It is your soul's way of saying that it knows what is coming, and it has already begun to move toward it. You're not falling apart. You are waking up. Something has been happening to you at night. Perhaps you have noticed that sleep no longer feels the way it used to. You close your eyes, and instead of finding rest, you find worlds. Your dreams have become longer, stranger, more layered than anything you have experienced in recent memory. You wake in the early hours of the morning with the feeling that something important just happened, that you were somewhere, that you were shown something, that a conversation took place that your waking mind cannot fully retrieve. You lie in the darkness reaching for the memory of it, and it dissolves like smoke between your fingers. But the feeling remains. The weight of it remains. And you carry it with you into the day without knowing what to do with it, without knowing what it means, only knowing that it was not nothing. It was never nothing. There are others who have noticed something different. Not vivid dreams, but a heaviness in sleep that feels unlike ordinary tiredness. A depth to the unconscious hours that makes waking feel like surfacing from somewhere very far away. You open your eyes in the morning, and for just a moment, just a breath, you are not sure which world is the real one. That disorientation, that liminal trembling between sleep and waking, is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that you are being worked on while you rest. It is a sign that the part of you that operates beyond the reach of the conscious mind is extraordinarily active right now, processing things that are too vast, too ancient, and too layered for your waking awareness to hold. This is what the 29th degree portal does to those who are sensitive enough to feel it. The anaretic degree, where both Mars and Uranus now stand, is associated in esoteric teaching with the completion of karmic cycles, with the soul being called to review, to integrate, and to release what it has been carrying across not just this lifetime, but many. And that kind of work, that depth of soul-level processing, happens most naturally when the conscious mind steps aside. It happens in the hours when you are no longer in control. It happens in the darkness, in the silence, in the space between one breath and the next. Your dreams are not random. They are not the meaningless noise of an overstimulated brain. They are the place where your soul is doing the most important work of this entire cycle. You may have dreamed of people you have not thought of in years. You may have found yourself in places that felt familiar in a way that geography cannot explain. Places that belong to a memory older than this body, older than this name. You may have dreamed of water, of thresholds, of doors, of standing at the edge of something enormous and feeling both terrified and completely ready. These are not coincidences assembled by a sleeping mind with nothing better to do. These are transmissions. These are the images and landscapes your soul reaches for when it is trying to show you what is completing, what is releasing, what is finally, after so very long, being laid down. Pisces, the sign where Mars currently stands at its most urgent final degree, is the sign of the unconscious, of the invisible, of everything that exists beneath the surface of what can be seen or spoken or rationally understood. It is the sign of ancestral memory, of collective feeling, of the great ocean of consciousness that connects every soul that has ever lived. Mars, moving through these final degrees of Pisces, is stirring that ocean from the deepest possible place. And you, because you are awake, because you are sensitive, because you were built to feel what others cannot, are feeling those waves move through you, even while you sleep. Your dreams are not disturbing you. They are delivering you, one night at a time, to the shore of who you are becoming. There is someone in your life you have been pulling away from. Or perhaps it is not a person. Perhaps it is a habit, a routine, a version of yourself that you have been performing for so long that you almost forgot it was a performance. Something that once felt like home has begun to feel like a costume. Something that once felt like safety has begun to feel like a cage built from the softest materials, lined with everything familiar and comfortable. And you have spent so long inside it that you only recently noticed there were walls. And now you cannot stop noticing the walls. You find yourself going quiet in conversations that used to feel easy. You find yourself standing in the middle of your own life and feeling like a visitor. You are not depressed. You are not ungrateful. You are outgrowing something. Oh, and the outgrowing feels like loss before it feels like freedom. This pull, this wordless, persistent, sometimes painful urge to walk away, has been intensifying in recent days, and you may have questioned it. You may have told yourself that you were being selfish or irrational, or that you were running from something instead of toward something. But what if the opposite is true? What if the most courageous thing a soul can do at the edge of a new cycle is to stop pretending that the old one still fits? What if walking away is not an act of abandonment, but an act of profound spiritual honesty? The moment when you finally choose the truth of who you are over the comfort of who you have been. Our Uranus, at the 29th degree of Taurus, has spent 7 years breaking down every structure in your life that was assembled from fear rather than truth. Taurus is the sign of what we hold, what we build, what we refuse to release, because it makes us feel secure. And Uranus, the great disruptor, the planet that answers only to liberation, has been moving through that sign like a quiet earthquake, slow, deep, and utterly unstoppable. It has been loosening your grip on things you were never meant to hold forever. It has been making the familiar feel strange, so that the strange can begin to feel like home. And now, at its final degree, it is sending one last pulse of that energy through everything in your life that still does not belong to your future. The sextile it forms with Mars on April 8th makes this energy not violent, but electric. A sextile is a harmonious aspect. It does not force, it does not break, it invites. It opens a door and holds it open and floods the threshold with light so that you can see, perhaps for the first time with complete clarity, what is on the other side. And what you see on the other side is a version of your life that is more honest, more aligned, more fully yours than anything you have been living inside until now. The urge to walk away that you have been feeling is not recklessness. It is vision. It is your soul seeing through the open door and recognizing what it has always been walking toward. This is why chosen ones often describe this kind of period as one of the loneliest they have ever experienced. Not because they are truly alone, but because they have grown beyond the conversations, the dynamics, and the identities that once made them feel connected. They are standing in the in-between, no longer who they were, not yet fully who they are becoming. And that space can feel vast and silent and disorienting. But it is not empty. It is sacred. It is the space the universe clears before it builds something extraordinary. You are not losing your life. You are losing what was never truly yours to keep. And everything that remains when the losing is complete will be real, will be lasting, and will be entirely, undeniably yours. You have been seeking silence in a way you cannot fully explain. Not the silence of boredom, not the silence of having nothing to say, but a deeper silence. A silence that feels necessary, that feels like medicine, that feels like the only honest response to a world that suddenly seems too loud, too fast, too filled with noise that does not belong to you. You have been canceling plans without guilt. You have been turning down invitations and feeling relief rather than regret. You have been sitting alone in rooms and not reaching for your phone, not turning on the television, not filling the quiet with anything at all. Just sitting, just breathing, just being present in a stillness that feels, inexplicably, like the most important thing you could be doing with your time. People around you may not understand it. They may call it withdrawal, or sadness, or antisocial behavior. But you know in a place beneath words that what you are doing is not retreating from life. You are retreating into yourself. And there is a profound difference. This craving for solitude, this gravitational pull toward inner silence, is one of the most reliable signs that a soul is undergoing deep, energetic recalibration. When the outer world begins to feel overwhelming, not because it is more chaotic than usual, but because your inner world has become so active, so alive, so saturated with invisible processing. The soul instinctively seeks stillness, the way a healing body seeks rest. You are not shutting down, you are turning inward, because that is where the real work is happening. That is where the portal is open. That is where the transmission is being received. On April 8th, with the moon moving through its void of course passage in the early hours of the morning, that liminal, in-between space where the moon makes no major aspects and the cosmic field grows unusually quiet, the universe itself is modeling the very behavior your soul has been craving. The void of course, moon is a sacred pause. It is the breath between one chapter and the next. It is the moment of pure potential that exists before anything is decided, before anything is named, before the next movement begins. And your soul, because it is tuned to these frequencies, has been preparing for that silence for days. The quietness you have been seeking is not a symptom of something wrong. It is a resonance. You have been unconsciously synchronizing yourself with the rhythm of the cosmos. The moon entering Capricorn after its void passage carries with it a grounding, clarifying energy, the kind that takes everything received in the silence and begins slowly and deliberately to give it form. This is the energetic sequence your soul has been following without your conscious awareness. First the silence, then the receiving, then the grounding of what was received into something real and lasting. The solitude you have been living inside is not the end of the process. It is the middle of it. It is the sacred chamber where the old frequency is cleared and the new one is installed. And you will not remain in this chamber forever. But while you are here, every moment of stillness is doing something profound that the busy, distracted, noise-filled mind could never accomplish. Chosen ones have always known this on some level, that their greatest revelations did not arrive in crowds or in conversation, but in the quiet hours when the world had gone to sleep and they were alone with something vast and invisible that felt more real than anything they could touch. That vastness is what you have been sitting with. That presence is what has been drawing you inward. The silence you have been craving is not emptiness. It is the voice of the universe speaking at a frequency that can only be heard when everything else falls away. You have been listening, and what you are about to hear will change everything. There is something living in your chest that you have not been able to explain to anyone. It is not quite excitement, and it is not quite fear, though it carries the texture of both. It arrives in the quiet moments, when you are washing dishes, when you are driving alone, when you are lying in the darkness just before sleep claims you, and it settles into the center of your body like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples outward through every part of you. It is a knowing, not a thought, not a hope, not a wish dressed up as intuition, but a genuine, cellular, unshakable knowing that something is about to change, that the life you are currently living is not the final version, that something is standing just beyond the threshold of what you can see, waiting for the precise moment to step forward and reveal itself. When you have felt this before in smaller ways, in quieter moments, but never quite like this, never with this intensity, never with this certainty. This feeling is not your imagination reaching beyond its boundaries. It is not wishful thinking dressed in spiritual language. It is the deepest, most ancient part of you responding to something real, something happening in the sky above you, in the field of energy that surrounds and moves through every living thing on this earth. On April 8th, 2026, both Mars and Uranus stand at the 29th degree of their signs simultaneously. In esoteric astrology, the 29th degree is the degree of culmination, the point at which everything a planet has been building toward across its entire journey through a sign arrives at its final, most concentrated, most potent expression. It is the last note of a symphony that has been playing for years, and the soul that is awake enough, sensitive enough, and spiritually aware enough to feel that note resonating through the cosmos will feel it not in the mind, but in the body, in the bones, in that unnamed place in the chest where truth lives before language ever reaches it. What you are feeling is karmic acceleration. It is the sensation of time compressing around a moment of profound spiritual significance. The feeling that years of inner work, of questioning, of releasing, of slowly and painfully becoming more honest with yourself about who you are and what you are here for are all converging on this single point in time. Nothing you have been through was wasted. Not the loss, not the confusion. Not the long seasons of feeling invisible or misunderstood or somehow out of place in a world that seemed to be moving at a frequency you could never quite match. All of it was preparation. All of it was the universe slowly, deliberately, lovingly building the version of you who is awake enough to stand at this threshold and recognize it for what it is. Uranus leaving Taurus after 7 transformative years. Mars on the edge of igniting into Aries, the sign of the pioneer, the warrior, the soul who leads rather than follows, and the waning moon releasing the final remnants of what no longer belongs to your story. These are not separate events happening in isolation. They are one unified cosmic message delivered with extraordinary precision to those who have been doing the inner work, to those who have been brave enough to keep feeling even when feeling was painful, to those who were always, on some level, waiting for this moment, without knowing exactly what this moment would look like when it finally arrived. It looks like this. It feels like what you are feeling right now. The knowing in your chest is not anxiety about the future. It is recognition of it. It is your soul seeing what is coming and responding, not with fear, but with a quiet, profound, whole body yes. You have been chosen not because you are perfect, or because you have all the answers, or because your path has been without darkness. You have been chosen because you kept going anyway, because you stayed open anyway. Because even in your most doubtful moments, you never fully closed the door to the possibility that something greater was at work in your life. That openness is your greatest spiritual gift. And on April 8th, 2026, the cosmos is walking through the door you never closed. What begins now has been written in the stars far longer than you know. You are not at the beginning of your journey. You are at the moment your journey finally begins to make sense.